There are moments in your life when you feel like something has shifted deep inside of you. You can't always explain it. You can't always put it into words. But there is a rare sign that shows up, a sign that proves you are no longer where you used to be. You are no longer who you used to be. You have been spiritually activated. The first rare sign that you're spiritually activated is the inner stirring that won't let you stay comfortable where you are. You can't quite explain it, but something inside of you knows there is more. On the outside, everything may look fine. People may even envy what you have, thinking you've already made it. But on the inside, your spirit is restless. It's like God has placed a divine dissatisfaction in your heart. That dissatisfaction isn't to frustrate you, it's to awaken you. It's His way of telling you that you've outgrown a season. Think about it. A bird doesn't know the sky is waiting until the nest becomes too small. The nest that once felt safe and warm suddenly feels restrictive. The very place that nurtured you now can't contain you. That's the stirring of activation. That's God whispering, you weren't created to stay here. There's more ahead. And when your spirit begins to feel that nudge, you can't sit in the same spot anymore. You can't be satisfied with surface level living. Some of you have been feeling that stirring lately. You're doing the same job, talking to the same people, going through the same motions, but your spirit isn't settled. You know there's something greater pulling at you. And yet, the danger is that comfort will try to hold you hostage. Comfort will tell you, stay where it's safe, stay where it's familiar, stay where you're light. But when God activates your spirit, He won't let you settle in a place that's beneath what He created you for. That's why the stirring doesn't feel good. It disrupts your routine. It interrupts your sleep. It makes you feel like you're living in between what was and what will be. You're too awakened to enjoy the old, but you're not yet walking in the new. And that in between season can be frustrating if you don't understand it. But listen, it's not punishment, it's preparation. God is conditioning your spirit for expansion. He's training your appetite to desire more than temporary pleasures. He's teaching you to lean on Him because where He's taking you will require a deeper dependency. And here's the truth. Every person God has ever used has felt that stirring. Moses couldn't stay comfortable in Pharaoh's palace, even though he had privilege. Something in him knew he was called to deliver his people. David couldn't be content tending sheep forever because he had a giant to slay and a throne to occupy. Esther couldn't stay silent in the palace when her people were threatened. Something inside her was stirred to step forward. That stirring was the activation of their destiny. And that same stirring is happening in you. Don't despise it. Don't try to silence it. Don't drown it out with distractions, because that discomfort is holy. That unease is divine. It's God saying, I'm calling you higher. I'm pushing you deeper. I'm pulling you forward. And if you'll lean into it instead of running from it, you'll discover that the restlessness is really a signal that you're on the verge of breakthrough. But let me warn you, when your spirit is activated, people around you may not understand it. They'll ask, why are you changing? Why can't you just be satisfied like everybody else? They won't get why you're suddenly quiet, why you're distant, why you're no longer excited about the same things. But that's because God is working something in you that He's not working in them. Don't look for validation from those who haven't felt the stirring. Don't expect applause from people who are content where you can no longer remain. When your spirit is activated, you'll have to walk by faith, trusting that the God who started this stirring will lead you to where you're meant to be. So hear me, don't resist the shift. Don't bury the unease. Don't cling to a nest that has already become too small. That restlessness is not a curse, it's a calling. It's heaven's announcement that you've been chosen to rise. And if you've been feeling it, if your soul has been unsettled and your spirit has been whispering that there's more, don't ignore it. That's the rare sign that God has awakened you. That's the confirmation that you've been marked. The stirring inside you is not your enemy, it's your evidence. It's proof that you're being activated for something greater. Another rare sign that you're spiritually activated is when your appetite begins to change. What used to satisfy you no longer does. The things you once craved suddenly feel empty. The conversations you used to enjoy don't excite you anymore. The places you used to run to for comfort now feel hollow. It's as if God has shifted your taste buds, not in your body, but in your soul. When your spirit is activated, He won't allow you to feed off the same things you did in the last season. Junk food won't fill you anymore. Gossip doesn't taste the same. Surface level friendships leave you drained. You can't go back to spiritual fast food when God is preparing you for a feast. The reason you feel this shift is because God is developing a deeper hunger in you. He's pulling you out of what's shallow so He can draw you into what's sacred. And that hunger is not random. It's a sign that He is maturing you. Just like a child outgrows milk and begins craving solid food, so too does a spiritually awakened person begin to hunger for the meat of God's word, for the depth of His presence, for the truth of His voice. And once you've tasted that, nothing else compares. That's why some of you feel unsatisfied with the same routines you used to cling to. It's not that something is wrong with you. It's that something is growing in you. But here's the struggle. The enemy will always try to tempt you to feed your spirit with substitutes. He'll put shiny distractions in front of you. He'll try to lure you with things that look appealing but leave you empty. And if you don't recognize what's happening, you'll misinterpret your hunger. You'll think something is missing when really God is just redirecting your appetite. The worst mistake you could make in this season is to fill a divine hunger with worldly food, because the more you settle for substitutes, the more you delay the fulfillment of what God is trying to give you. Do you remember the prodigal son? He left his father's house chasing satisfaction in all the wrong places. He spent his inheritance. He partied with strangers. He consumed everything that the world told him would make him happy. But eventually, his appetite changed. The Bible says he got so hungry that he thought about eating the food he was feeding to pigs. That's how low he fell. And it was in that hunger, in that emptiness, that he finally realized, I was made for something more than this. That's when he turned back home. That's when he discovered his father's table had more than enough. That's what God does with us. He allows the wrong food to lose its flavor, so we'll go after the right one. He lets the old wells run dry, so we'll dig deeper into his presence. He awakens our spirit so strongly that even when we try to go back, we can't enjoy it like we used to. Have you noticed that? You try to hang out in places you've outgrown and it just feels off. You try to laugh at jokes you used to find funny and now they grieve your spirit. That's not you being too deep. That's God shifting your appetite because he's activating something inside of you. So don't panic when your old cravings don't work anymore. Don't mourn what you've outgrown. Don't fight to fit into circles where you no longer belong. Recognize that your appetite is proof of your activation. It's a sign that you're moving into maturity. You're not broken. You're being built. And let me tell you this, when God changes your appetite, it's only because he's preparing a greater meal. He never takes something away without offering something better. That's why your hunger matters, because hunger is what positions you for overflow. Hunger is what drives you to seek him until you find him. Hunger is what separates the casual from the committed, the lukewarm from the on fire, the wanderer from the worshiper. So if your appetite has shifted, don't fight it, follow it. Lean into it. Let it guide you deeper into his presence. Because that hunger you feel is not a weakness, it's a witness. It's the rare sign that you've been spiritually activated. And when God awakens your appetite, nothing in this world can satisfy you again. Another rare sign that you're spiritually activated is that you start to feel a tension inside of you. You can sense that you don't quite fit in the places you used to, but you're not fully settled into where you're going either. It's that in between place. It's uncomfortable. It's like when a snake sheds its skin, it can't stay in the old layer, but the new one isn't fully formed yet. That's the tension of transition. And whenever your spirit is being awakened, you will experience that tug of war. Some of you are living there right now. You go into rooms you once belonged to, but now you feel like an outsider. You talk to people you used to connect with, but the conversation falls flat. You sit at tables that once fed you, but you walk away still hungry. That's not rejection. That's redirection. It's not that you're being pushed out. It's that you're being pulled up. God will never allow you to be too comfortable in a place that can't carry the weight of who you're becoming. But here's the challenge when you're in that in-between place. The temptation is to shrink back into what's familiar, because the unfamiliar feels frightening. You'd rather go back to what you know, even if it no longer fits, than step into what you don't understand. That's why Israel begged Moses to take them back to Egypt. They said, at least in Egypt, we knew what to expect. At least in Egypt, we had food on the table. They couldn't see that the tension they were feeling was proof that God was moving them into something greater. And maybe that's you. You keep saying, why doesn't this feel right anymore? Why don't I enjoy what I used to enjoy? Why do I feel so restless inside? That's because your spirit has been activated. God is birthing something new in you, and new always comes with tension. Even a baby being born causes tension. The mother pushes, the baby presses, and the whole process is uncomfortable. But that tension is not the end, it's a sign of new life. What you've got to understand is that tension is not punishment, it's preparation. You're not being torn apart, you're being stretched, and God stretches you because He's enlarging you. He's making room in your spirit for the next season of your assignment. You can't carry more if you stay the same size. You can't pour into more lives if you don't let Him expand you, and expansion always feels uncomfortable. Think about David. He was anointed to be king, but before he ever wore a crown, he had to deal with the tension of being hunted by Saul. He lived in caves. He was chased across deserts. He was rejected by people he had helped. He was in that in-between place, no longer just a shepherd boy, but not yet sitting on the throne. And in that tension, God was shaping his character. He was teaching him how to fight battles, how to lead men, how to depend on the Lord alone. Without that tension, David wouldn't have been ready for the throne. So don't curse the tension you're in. Don't misinterpret it as abandonment. It's evidence that your spirit is awake. It's a rare sign that you're being positioned for something greater. You can't see it all yet. But God is stretching you, molding you, pulling you forward. You're in the awkward space between your old skin and your new strength. And though it feels uncomfortable, it's necessary. The truth is, if you feel tension, you're right where you're supposed to be. It means you're growing. It means God is working behind the scenes. It means He's aligning things that you don't even realize yet. The pressure you feel is not proof that you're failing. It's proof that you're transforming. So the next time you feel that tension rising in your spirit, don't run from it. Don't retreat into what's familiar. Stand firm in it, because that's the sign that God is pulling you out of where you've been and positioning you for where you're going. And when you feel the pull of that tension, remember this: you're not being broken, you're being birthed. Say. Another rare sign that you're spiritually activated is that your appetite begins to change. I'm not just talking about food. I'm talking about what you crave, what you desire, what you long for deep down in your soul. The things that once satisfied you no longer do. The distractions that used to keep you busy now leave you empty. The conversations that once entertained you now feel like noise. That's because when your spirit wakes up, it will no longer settle for junk food. It hungers for the real bread of life. You can always tell when someone is being spiritually activated because their taste changes. The same television shows the same parties, the same gossip, the same toxic relationships. They don't taste the way they used to. You can try to go back and indulge, but it doesn't hit the same. It doesn't satisfy. That's not you being strange, that's you being stirred. Because when God opens your eyes, He also refines your appetite. And let me tell you, that shift can be lonely because people around you won't understand why you don't laugh at the same jokes anymore, why you don't chase the same things anymore, why you don't run with the same crowd anymore. They'll say, you've changed.
Идем в желтый
And
тюльпан,
they're
давай.
right, you have. But what they don't realize is that your spirit is demanding something higher, something deeper, something purer. You're being drawn into alignment with God's will, and shallow things can't hold your attention anymore. That's what happened to the prodigal son. He left home chasing pleasure, chasing money, chasing validation. He ate everything the world had to offer until he ended up in a pig pen. But something shifted in him. He said, how many of my father's servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? His appetite changed. He no longer wanted what the world was serving him. He wanted what his father had at the table. That's how you know you're spiritually activated. You develop a hunger for what only your Father can give. Maybe you've been feeling that lately. You sit in meetings, you scroll on your phone, you watch movies, and yet you walk away unsatisfied. That's not depression. It's divine hunger. It's God awakening your spirit to crave more of Him, to thirst for His presence, to seek His wisdom, to desire His purpose. The emptiness you feel is not a curse, it's an invitation. He's saying, come higher, come deeper, come closer. But here's the challenge. When your appetite changes, you have to make a decision. You can either keep feeding yourself things that no longer nourish you, or you can accept the invitation to feast on something greater. And that choice won't always be easy, because junk food is convenient, cheap, and always available. But real food requires preparation, patience, and commitment. Spiritually, that means you'll have to press into prayer when it feels easier to scroll. You'll have to study the Word when it feels easier to watch television. You'll have to spend time in God's presence when it feels easier to fill your schedule with noise. But hear me, every time you choose the real over the counterfeit, your spirit grows stronger. Every time you say no to the empty and yes to the eternal, your spiritual muscles get sharper. Every time you resist going back to what used to fill you, you step closer to who God is shaping you to be. And don't be discouraged when people fall away in this season, because some connections were only there to feed your old appetite. They won't be able to walk with you into your new hunger, and that's okay. You don't need everybody to understand your growth. What matters is that you lean into it, because when your appetite changes, it's proof that your destiny is changing too. You're not being picky, you're being purified. You're not being difficult, you're being developed. And the shift in your hunger is preparing you for the feast God has already set before you. So don't ignore the emptiness. Don't dismiss the craving. Don't push aside the longing. That's the rare sign that your spirit has been activated and your soul has tasted what it was made for. And here's the truth: once your appetite changes, there's no going back. Another rare sign that you're spiritually activated is that your discernment sharpens. You begin to see things you couldn't see before. It's almost like someone cleaned the lenses of your spiritual glasses, and suddenly you notice the difference between what looks good and what is truly good. What sounded right before now feels off. What appeared harmless now stirs something inside you that says, wait a minute, that's not for me. That's because when your spirit comes alive, God heightens your sensitivity. You don't just hear words, you feel the weight behind them. You don't just see opportunities, you sense the motives attached to them. Discernment isn't suspicion, it's not paranoia. It's the ability to sense the Spirit's guidance beyond the surface. It's when you're about to step into something and deep inside you feel, this isn't where God is leading me. Or when you meet someone and while everything about them seems fine, your spirit quietly warns, be careful. How many times have you looked back and said, I knew something wasn't right. I should have trusted that feeling. That wasn't just your instinct. That was discernment. And when you're spiritually activated, that voice gets louder. You stop brushing it off. You stop second guessing yourself. You start realizing that what God is whispering inside you is more accurate than what people are shouting around you. Think about Joseph. His brothers hated him, but he discerned that the dreams he was having were not ordinary dreams. He knew they were divine glimpses of his future. And later, when temptation came knocking at Potiphar's house, his discernment told him to run, not reason. That discernment protected his destiny. Discernment is a rare sign because not everyone has it. Some people can be in the same room, hear the same thing, and only one of them will sense the truth hidden underneath. That's what it means to be spiritually awake. You begin to detect atmospheres, intentions, and spiritual shifts. You start noticing that something doesn't align, not because anyone told you, but because the spirit within you is alert. But let me warn you, discernment will often make you unpopular, because while others are celebrating something, you'll be the one saying, I don't have peace about this. While others are rushing into deals, relationships, or decisions, you'll be slowing down, checking in with God, waiting for clarity. People may even call you hesitant or overly cautious, but you'll know that what they see as hesitation is actually protection. What they call delay is actually discernment guiding your steps. And that's where courage comes in. Because when your discernment is awakened, you must be bold enough to follow it, even if it costs you comfort. You may have to walk away from opportunities that look lucrative but feel wrong. You may have to step out of relationships that seem fine on the outside but drain your soul on the inside. You may have to say no to things that everyone else says yes to. But every time you honor that inner witness, you align yourself with God's plan instead of man's opinion. You'll also find that discernment doesn't just expose danger. It also highlights divine moments. You'll recognize when it's time to move, when it's time to speak, when it's time to act. You'll sense when God is opening a door and when He is closing one. And when you follow that, you'll see how much smoother your path becomes. Not easier, but clearer, because clarity is what discernment gives. And don't be surprised if this sharpening also makes you more sensitive to people's hearts. You'll start hearing pain in someone's laughter, noticing loneliness in their smile, feeling heaviness behind their silence. That's because discernment isn't just about protecting you. It's about equipping you to serve others. When you see beyond the surface, you can love deeper, pray more intentionally, and be present in ways you never were before. This is why discernment is such a rare sign of spiritual activation. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, it's subtle, quiet, and deeply personal, but it's powerful. It saves you from mistakes, guides you toward purpose, and positions you for divine encounters. So if lately you've been sensing things more clearly, if your spirit has been alert in ways you can't even explain, don't dismiss it. Don't ignore it. That's not coincidence, it's confirmation. It's God showing you that He's sharpening your spiritual senses. And here's the bottom line: when you follow discernment, you'll never lose your way. Well, here's the 6 to 50 word expansion of key point 6 written in the same flowing conversational style. Another rare sign that you're spiritually activated is that you can endure the shaking without falling apart. When God wakes you up in the spirit, He doesn't promise you a life without storms. He gives you the strength to stand in the middle of them. And that's when you realize that what used to break you no longer has the same power. What used to send you into panic now sends you into prayer. What used to overwhelm you now reminds you that God's hand is still holding you together. That's not something that happens overnight. That's the result of being spiritually alive. Because when your spirit is activated, you're no longer leaning solely on your emotions or your intellect to carry you through. You're leaning on a strength that doesn't come from you at all. It's the strength that comes from knowing who's inside you. That's why the scripture says, greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. And let's be honest, life will test this. Life will bring disappointments, betrayals, and losses that shake you to your core. People you trusted will walk away. Doors you thought were open will suddenly close. Opportunities you worked so hard for will slip right through your fingers. But here's the miracle: when you're spiritually activated, those things don't destroy you. They refine you. They push you closer to God. They strip away the unnecessary and reveal the unshakable foundation that's been carrying you all along. You see, the shaking is not to end you. It's to stabilize you. It's in the shaking that you discover your roots. Think about a tree in a storm. The wind bends it, the rain beats against it. But if the roots are deep enough, the tree will stand. And after the storm passes, that tree is actually stronger because the struggle forced its roots to grow deeper. That's what happens when you are spiritually activated. Every storm becomes an opportunity for your roots to go deeper. And here's the part many people miss. The shaking is often the sign that you are being prepared for something greater. Because God doesn't waste storms. He doesn't allow shaking just for the sake of chaos. He allows it to separate what's temporary from what's eternal, what's surface from what's solid. That's why some relationships can't last when you get activated, because they were surface. That's why some habits fall off, because they were surface. That's why some doors close, because they were surface. The shaking clears away what was never meant to hold you, so that what is truly of God can remain. And it's in those moments of shaking that your faith gets louder. You start speaking things you never would have said before. You start declaring, I will not die in this. I will not break under this. I will not lose my mind here. This storm is not my ending, it's my birthing. And you start realizing that your words carry authority because they come from a spirit that's alive. Let me tell you, one of the most powerful evidences of being spiritually activated is that you stop confusing being shaken with being destroyed. You know that even if the winds blow, the foundation still stands. Even if life feels unstable, God is still unmovable. Even if everything around you changes, He remains the same. And when you know that, peace starts to live where panic used to dwell. Courage starts to rise where fear used to sit. Hope starts to shine where despair used to linger. It doesn't mean you don't feel the storm. It means the storm doesn't define you anymore. It doesn't mean you don't cry. It means your tears water the ground for what God is about to grow. It doesn't mean you don't get tired. It means you know where to find your strength when you're weary. And here's the good news: if you are in a season of shaking right now, that's not a sign of your weakness. It's evidence of your activation. It means God trusts you enough to grow you. It means He sees something in you that can withstand the storm. It means He is anchoring you so deeply that nothing, no matter how fierce, will uproot your destiny. So don't despise the shaking. Don't curse the storm. Don't run from the winds. Stand firm. Lift your head. Open your mouth. Declare who you are and whose you are. Because when the dust settles, when the winds die down, when the storm passes, you'll still be standing. Not because of your strength, but because your spirit was alive enough to endure. And when you endure, you prove to the enemy, to the world, and even to yourself that you are unshakable in the hands of God.